I could spend about an hour talking about healthcare trusts and how the history of them and all of those kind of good things. Can I say a thumbs up? You can hear me, can't you? It's okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to rush through, well, not rush, I'm going to give you a high-level view of healthcare trusts in the next 10 minutes. And then the good news is we're keeping the best act for last, when Kira's going to come on and talk about nurse-led managed care and how we at Helix use nurses to support people going through a healthcare claim. But first and foremost, let's talk about trusts and why they've become probably the go-to for larger companies providing healthcare benefits in the UK. Okay. The first and foremost, people come to me and say, oh, should I use a trust? Like there's something new. The healthcare trusts have been around since the 1970s, about as long as I've been working in the industry. They've been around a long, long time. A lot of people use healthcare trusts. But I think people get a little bit confused, because if you see a scheme, a healthcare scheme where you're using someone like a Bupa or an AXA or an Aviva or a Helix, people think, because they see the brand names, they think that's insurance, but it actually could be through a healthcare trust, quite commonly. So back in the 70s, the tradition was to buy insurance products, but people were sort of getting a bit grumpy about the fact that they were inflexible. You had to buy them in certain products. And what the trust gives you the ability to do, and it's a really simple, is a trust is your sort of like a cupboard of benefits. You can put the benefits into a trust that you want. So if you want to put your EAP in, if you want to put private GP in, if you want to put chronic in, you can. A trust gives you that ability to design the benefits that work for you and your budgets. And that doesn't have to be a rich benefits either. We've got people using trusts to run effectively very low-cost schemes as well. So you can have cash plans and all sorts of things. But the trust is just like a cupboard of benefits that's yours to have. What happened in the 1990s and through the 1990s, there was a big explosion in the use of trusts. There were companies called Medisure and Remedy. And if you're as old as me, you'll remember those. But these were third-party administration companies that administered healthcare trusts. So they were very popular in the 1990s. And today, we think about 80% of companies with more than 1,000 employees on their healthcare scheme use a trust. So, and virtually all the large, if you look at the FTSE 100, those companies who've got healthcare plans inside the FTSE 100, the great majority use a trust. Many of them, the staff wouldn't know they are in a trust, but they genuinely are. One of the reasons people often talk about healthcare trusts is they'd say, well, there's no tax on a healthcare trust. Well, let's be clear. You pay tax if you buy insurance, because it's called insurance tax. It's quite simple. You buy motor insurance, you pay insurance tax. You buy health insurance, you pay insurance tax. If you use a healthcare trust, it's not insurance. So you don't pay insurance tax. It's not an avoidance, it's the fact you're not buying insurance. Okay? So healthcare trusts have become very popular because when you've got an insurance tax at now 12%, you're paying a 12% levy for buying insurance, and you can avoid that levy by using a healthcare trust. It's quite simple. Some people would say, well, you know, that's fine, but broadly, the issue is very simple. If you want to use a healthcare trust, you don't have to pay that tax. Therefore, that tax isn't applied to the P11D rates and the member rates. Will insurance premium tax go up in the future? In Europe, it's higher than 12%. It's often up to 15 or 20%. And maybe the new government or the retaining government will increase insurance tax because they've committed not to increase most taxes. So this one is one they might go at. But most of us will get caught not on our healthcare schemes, but because we buy motor and household insurance. That's where they get the insurance premium tax from. It's mainly from insurances, what we call general insurance. So why do corporates use a healthcare trust? And by the way, healthcare trusts are available. Helix, we're really good at them, but they're available from everyone. Bupa buy them, AXA do them, Aviva do them, WPA do them. There's all the major healthcare administrators do a healthcare trust. So why would companies use them? So if you sat with your chief exec or your chief people officer and they said, why are we using a healthcare trust? There are three reasons. First one is it allows us, because it's our trust, to put the benefits in it we want. So we can choose the benefits. We don't have to buy off-the-shelf benefits from an insurer. We can put in what we want. So we can adapt things. We can change things. If we want to add in menopause benefits, chronic benefits, all sorts that you can build what you want. There used to be a retailer called Build-A-Bear Factory. I don't know if anyone remember those. Back to my age, we used to build a bear. This is like building your own benefits. Build what you want in your healthcare trust. So flexibility. The other thing is, an administrator like Helix, and we can then sit down with you and understand how much we think that's going to cost and set you a fund of money for using to pay for those benefits. And if you don't use all the fund up, you keep the money. If you go over the fund, then normally you top the money up. And of course, by taking this approach, you don't have to pay insurance tax because it's not an insurance product. So it becomes a way where you can have far more control over the benefits that you provide. And you can choose and adapt those benefits over time. There's a slide there about sort of people say, well, how does it differ from insurance? Well, insurance is a product where people take risk from you. They take the money from you and you give them a product. So what happens with an insurance company is you get what's called an insurer mindset. And this is not a criticism, it's just a statement. An insurer mindset means that when you ring an insurance company, you have to make a claim. Okay, so you are assessed as a claimant. I don't know if anyone's ever made a claim on an insurance policy, but when you ring or you contact the call centre, you are assessed. Who are you? Is this an eligible claim? Have you done the right forms? Are we going to pay this? Yeah, it's an assessment. A healthcare trust, quite different. The mindset of a healthcare trust is, this is the company's healthcare trust, you're a beneficiary of it, and we're going to help you use it. It's quite a different mindset because an insurance company holds risk. If you go over the fund, they have to pay. Whereas a healthcare trust, the risk is held by the employer mostly. So you can really build a completely different attitude. And if you're ever interested in investigating healthcare trusts, just come along to an administrator like a Helix or others and just feel what it feels like in what we call our claims beneficiary team. They talk to people like they are members of a scheme, not like they're being assessed. It's a completely different mindset. You're not buying insurance, you're buying someone to administer your healthcare scheme, and we treat them completely differently. Okay. When you use a healthcare trust, it's effectively your pot of money. It's like a budget. This is the money, this is our pot of money we've set aside. There you go. If that pot of money isn't all used, then you can keep that money to run off to the following year. If you run out of money, you have to top it up. Now, you can buy what's called stop-loss insurance, which is a bit of a boring term, but broadly, you can insure if the claims go too high, so you've got some limit liability. But if ever you are interested, then reach out to people like us, and we'll give you some of the prices to do that. And if you do buy insurance, you do have to pay insurance premium tax on that element, which is the insurance premium. So that's a healthcare trust. When you come to the FD, so the HR teams really like healthcare trusts because the way they treat the members, the way their claiming process works, the way they can build their own benefits. But when you look at the money behind it, if you imagine, on a fully insured example there, this is just an example, about 79p in the pound that you give an insurance company comes back to you. So if you invest £1 million in your private medical insurance scheme, by the time you've paid for insurance premium tax, the administration fees of the insurer, and all the taxes due, you tend to get back 79p in the pound, broadly. Is if you use a healthcare trust, because you haven't got so many taxes that apply, you get about 91p in the pound back. So if you look at the costs over a 10-year or 5-year period, you can see there's quite a massive potential cost saving. Now, so that's just an example, and it's a works examples. We can give obviously proper worked examples for each company by company. But that's the reason. It's just a more effective manner. If you look at Bupa, AXA, Aviva, all the big consulting houses, Mercer's, Aons, all these companies, and you ask them, what do you use? They use a healthcare trust. They might promote insurance, but for their own staff, they use a healthcare trust. Do we use a healthcare trust for our staff? Yes, we do. Yeah? If you look at all the major FTSE 100 companies who are running big healthcare plans, they do. Who shouldn't use a healthcare trust? If you are a partnership, a limited liability partnership, and you have equity partners, take some tax advice. You might not want to put them into a healthcare trust because they might get a different tax treatment. So be careful if you've got partners. Okay? But other than that, if they're employees, you can put retirees in them, voluntary member benefits in them, you can put voluntary dependents in the trust. There's a load of flexibility to have fun with it. So, do you spend more than £400,000 a year on your healthcare benefits? This is our checklist. So if someone rang us and said, would you be interested in quoting? That's my checklist. Do you spend more than £400,000 a year on health benefits? Yes or no. Would you like greater control over your benefits, how you design it? Yes or no. Do you want a long-term cost-effective plan? Do you want us to look at your members like members rather than claimants? And are you willing to fund the scheme in the long term, knowing that it's going to be some years you're going to have some savings, some years you might go a bit over? If you can tick those boxes, or at least most of those boxes, then you should be looking at a healthcare trust. That is so quick, isn't it? 9-10 minutes to talk about healthcare trust is too quick. But I'm going to pass you over to the star of the show. Kira Wallace is our nurse case manager at Helix. She's going to just talk to you about the principle of using nurses to support people on a claims helpline. Kira.
Thanks, John. Thank you. So John has touched on a couple of things there. So one, sustainability, cost containment, but also on the fact that we are administrators that ultimately encourage people to make claims and use benefits. And you might be thinking, wow, how is that possible to use benefits but save money at the same time? And so I'm going to touch a little bit on our nurse-led managed care approach to member experience primarily, but also from a sustainability point of view. So Helix was founded by two doctors who are still very much part of the business over 30 years ago now. And we are a sort of clinically heavy business, shall we say. So we've got really high ratio of qualified nurses to advisors. The nurses sit alongside the advisors, they support each other, they work together. Nurses are heavily involved in all of the training of the team. And so we feel very strongly about what we do and how we look after individuals at a time when they need it most. More importantly, our nurses have a really good understanding of clinical pathways, both NHS and private, so that they're able to support individuals at a time where they need treatment, but also help direct them to appropriate pathways, which are going to be clinically effective and hopefully give them the best outcome, but also where there's clear evidence that there's going to be a good cost effectiveness to that treatment as well. And some of our clients will choose to implement different measures for cost containment alongside that. So it might be things like caps or limits on treatments. Again, because it's a real bespoke product, a bespoke offering, then it can be tailored to meet the budgets of the client. And so our nurses are very good at managing those high cost and complex claims where there may be limits in place by using that clinical expertise to forecast and predict what we think the claim may look like in the future, to ensure that we're being really proactive in managing that either to the NHS or through alternative means. In terms of individual claims, so I'll touch on that a little bit more in detail in a moment, but it's not unusual for our team to reach out to providers. We've got really good relationships with hospitals and consultants because we're talking clinician to clinician. So ultimately we're all in it for the same thing, which is the benefit of the individual that's needing the treatment. And so it's not unusual for us to negotiate individual discounts on particular claims as well, or work with consultants to do a shared care approach with NHS treatment sometimes. So those are just a few of the ways where we use that clinical emphasis to support the sustainability of the trust, which lends itself very nicely to that. So complex claims journeys, just touching on what we mean by a complex claim, is because someone phones up and they've banged their knee, they're probably not going to get a huge benefit of speaking to a nurse. It would be nice to do, but what they're looking for is quick authorisation, quick access to treatment. So what we try and do is remove those barriers by enabling self-referral pathways and digital access, etc. So the majority of the claims will go through that process. It's quick, easy, through to treatment. For complex claims, we see that changes slightly, and so what we will do with our complex claims is we will allocate a dedicated nurse from the offset who will look after that individual, they'll be given a direct line to that nurse. So they won't speak to the helpline anymore. They will speak to their dedicated nurse. They're normally given a second point of contact as well, in case the first nurse is unavailable. And so they will then develop a relationship with that individual and work with them to support the individual. And again, primarily that is for the purpose of the member satisfaction and the member outcome and their experience. But from a commercial perspective, our nurses, as I said earlier, trained in cost management and trained in commercial awareness, so they will be auditing invoices in the background to make sure that the treatment is reasonable and appropriate and customary. They'll also use that clinical expertise to try and anticipate what the treatment pathway may look like in the future, to try and inform that or shape that if required in line with other limits that might be in the policy. So I think that just covers off that kind of complex claims journey. Just to kind of highlight what we class as a complex claim is anything really where the member's going to see a huge benefit from having that nurse contact. So all cancer claims, any child and mental health, and that's primarily supporting the parents who are the individuals that we tend to speak to, which of course will have a big impact on them at work, knowing that their children aren't very well. So we support a lot of parents. Things like cardiac claims, they can be quite complex and costly, and sort of anything weird and wonderful that might come along actually that just needs that additional support. What we sometimes find is one claim might not be complex in isolation, but they may have 3 or 4 claims that are ongoing at the same time, and there may be elements where there is some kind of interlinking or codependency, in which case one nurse will take all of those claims and manage them, which again, for the members' experience is great because they won't need to keep repeating themselves every time they phone up. But from a commercial perspective, the nurse will fully understand what's happening with each of those claims and how they might interlink. So some of the typical treatment pathways that we offer as standard within the Healthcare Trust include the sort of the traditional musculoskeletal and mental health. So we can offer those very similar to the major insurers. We also offer digital alternatives to both of those. In terms of cancer, we'll offer self-referral pathways for specified cancer symptoms for things like breast and prostate, and we work very closely with some renowned partners to deliver those pathways. Women's and men's health, so we know this has been quite topical in the last few years, and we really see ourselves as well as becoming a partner to the clients that we work with, not just in providing the administration of their healthcare scheme, but seeing how that can fit into their wider D&I benefit strategy or policies. So we designed an off-the-shelf offering, if you like, as a starter for 10, but we welcome a conversation with our clients to ensure that it meets the needs of their population. And that conversation, where possible, will always be quite heavily clinically focused. And skin conditions, so we offer a digital pathway for skin conditions alongside a more traditional pathway approach, just to ensure that individuals have quick access. So one of the other ways that we help with that sustainability is by enabling quick access and early intervention and removing barriers where clinically appropriate for accessing treatment. So I think I would just summarise this by talking about the personal service. I think I've covered that in a bit of detail. Obviously, the appropriate treatment pathways that are adhered to, we aim to build a trusted relationship with our members to ensure that they're able to feel supported through us. And of course, the management of the high cost claims in a really micro level helps to support that. Just very quickly, conscious of time, I just have a case study here of someone that we looked after. So he was a gentleman who was diagnosed with cholangiocarcinoma, which is quite a rare gallbladder cancer, typically very poor prognosis. Member responded quite well to the original chemotherapy that they received, and they needed some ablation therapy. Now, this individual, it was quite remarkable because he was very, very fit, which meant that he was perhaps more amenable to more aggressive treatments or more radical treatments that you might expect typically with this condition. But unfortunately, he did have some disease progression after that treatment. And the nurse that was looking after him was able to arrange for him to have a second medical opinion, and he was actually referred through for some treatment on a phase 1 clinical trial. He was well enough to receive that at the time. Unfortunately, after a period of time, he developed complications, and that meant he was ineligible for the trial any further. So unfortunately, the outcome wasn't great. He did end up passing away. But we know that the overall survival for this cancer at the time was 6 months, and he lived really good quality of life for over 3 years and remained in work for the majority of that. So this is just an example of where we tried to combine both models to ensure that sustainability, but ultimately to give the member the best outcome possible for them within their circumstances. So I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira.